Dr. Ron Malka, Director General of the Ministry of Economy and Industry here in Israel. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Your background, I should say, is both military and academic and diplomatic. You've just finished your tenure as an ambassador to India, Israel's ambassador to India. How was it?
Well, it was great. We call it incredible India, and especially during this pandemic time, It was even more interesting. Always interesting in India. It's not easy, complicated, but always interesting.
The question to you is how to approach all these wonderful technologies that we've been talking about them today all day long. Great technologies with a lot of risk. And how do you, as the government, view this? How can you handle this? How can you make sure the citizens are not exposed to any risks, whether it's cyber, whether it's autonomous cars, whatnot?
Yes, exactly. This is our concern. As much as we get more digitized and as much as we move and immigrate more and more services that we give to the citizens, to the virtual space, we are becoming more vulnerable. This data that is given there during the services is more vulnerable to attacks, to cyber attacks, and we understand that as much as we want to become smart, and to use advanced technology, we need to move step by step with protecting this data, the data of citizens. The threat is that privacy will be broken, and of course that some sites, some services will be blocked out of hostility, and this is something that we need to protect. So as much as we advance in adapting new technology, in immigrating to the virtual space, side by side, we advanced our protection systems, and we understand that in order to protect the cyberspace, we need to be always one step ahead. Always one step ahead, so it's an ongoing process, never-ending process, and we need not to rely only on defense, since we understand that in this kind of protection and defense, we need to be active and sometimes even proactive. It's about deterrence. So we need also to deter those that might want to attack us. And so we are working on all these, I'd say, corridors, and only the holistic approach will give us the right protection that we need to go for.
We've seen wonderful technologies here today, face recognition, unbelievable stuff, with a lot of privacy concerns. And the question is, are we going to lose privacy on the streets as well, on other platforms as well as we did online already? Is the government capable of actually fighting this, or technology will always overcome?
Well, I believe that yes. I have to believe that yes. Of course, the threat is there, and we're being more and more exposed, and so that's why we need to understand that we will not adapt any system. We will not be more smart and vulnerable unless we understand and we have the knowledge how to protect and how to defend this privacy, this data that is so important for people, and it's so risky, and it might be abused. So, and it's not only the privacy, it's also the infrastructure that might be attacked and been damaged. So it has to be, as I said, an holistic approach, and it has to be advanced and always one step ahead.
Let's talk about the human resources. You're not the education ministry, I know that, but we're going to talk in a bit about the immense shortage of skilled workers in the tech industry. This is typically a government thing. What can be done about that to have more skilled workers in the engineering and tech industry that Israel is so thriving for?
Yes, you're right. So we have shortage of skilled workers, especially in technology, in high tech. So what we're trying to do is to open more and more ways and to figure out more and more formulas how to create and how to skill and train more and more people in order to fulfill the demand for so much labor. And so we have a plan. It's a strategic plan how we do that. And until that, we just lately approved hiring some workers from the Palestinian Authority, 500 workers. Sometimes we hire and we buy services from other countries from the world. You mentioned that I come from India.
Right.
So India sells those services, in remote services from India to us. And so again, it's different stages, different steps that we do. But in the long run, we would like to train more and more labor that will be capable of doing those high-skill works.
Explain to people outside Israel this phenomenon of Israeli technology and the exportation in unprecedented, kind of business or sums of business.
Well, I would say that we built our country on education. People back there in India even ask me, how did you do that? Because, we got independence approximately the same time.
Right.
And Israel now is an advanced country, leading in some technologies, and the startup nation. Our second name is innovation nation. I think that education and human capital later proved and progressed to innovation. And necessity brings innovation. When you need to survive, when you need to be strong enough to be sustainable, you need to create. You need to bring new solutions, different solutions, out-of-the-box solutions. And I think that that's how we became leading in some technologies, in innovation, something about the atmosphere, something about the culture, something about our ecosystems, the way that we grow up our children. The military is a melting pot that people learn and know how to work in teams, so it's teamwork. And I think that many explanations for how we became leading in innovation. And I think also the realizing and understanding that those economies that will adopt more and more innovation will perform better economically. So we realized that. That's how we became leading. This conference is about cybersecurity. How did we become leading in the world in cybersecurity? It's not by chance. I was there 15 and 20 years ago when we did the strategic plannings, and we decided that we want to do as much as we can to become leading in the world in cybersecurity because we realized that this is the future. So we tried different kinds of ecosystem, different kinds of formulas. And eventually what worked for us was the confluence, which is very creative, the confluence of the industry, the academia, and the intelligence military units. Think of that. We usually, I think the basic approach will be to take the intelligence military units and then to put them aside as far as we can. But no, we took them and we just combined them with the academia, with the industry, let them work together, help and bring added value to each other. And that's how we became attractive for capital, because if you want to be leading in the world in cybersecurity and technology, you have to attract a lot of capital. It's very capital intensive. So this is what worked for us. But we tried, before that, we tried and failed with some other structures and formulas. So even this is creativity and innovation, to build the right infrastructure, the right ecosystem that will work and will attract those players and will create the structure of incentives that needs to be built in order to become a leader in these technologies.
And you need to keep an edge all the time, and it's not
always
easy.
One
in
step
technology.
ahead.
How do you compete?
As you just said, always moving, always on the run, always advancing, never stop, always try to see how we can do things better, higher, stronger, and again and again. And it's a never-ending story, never-ending process. And always you have to run. You have to run in order to be at the same place. And that's what we do.
Dr. Ron Malka, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Enjoy the exhibition.
Sure, I do. Thank you.